Welcome to Fet.Talk Radio.
Well, thanks for having me.
So glad. I didn't think that it would be possible to get you on this show because I know how fucking busy you are.
I do run around the country a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I guess it was just a couple of weeks ago that I saw you getting off of work, coming to the bar, and I'm like, hey, timing is good. So, yeah. So
yeah, every now and again, I find that I have Tuesdays and Thursdays somewhat available to get off and do something and hang out. I didn't realize I had Tuesdays and Thursdays available for that until I looked at my schedule and was like, wait, I don't have to be home right away. But I have two little kids, so I like to go home and see them.
Just two?
Yes, I have two children under the age of 7. So,
and that's a whole job itself.
That's pretty much like work in a way that people can't imagine, unless you have them.
Yes.
If you have them, you completely grok it.
I had one once.
Then you remember
grew
it.
Up and
yeah, then you might remember it.
I do.
You just
it's great. I loved it.
I adore it. I think it's awesome.
I treasure those moments. And every time I see a little girl that's like 7 years old with that same long curly black hair, I'm just like, oh, I miss those days.
I do. I love them. We call them Dad Adventure Days. It's where we grab the kid, or I grab the kids. We go run around and we get in the car, just like I do my motorcycle. And the kids go, "Where are we going?" And I'm like, "That way," and I point. And we just drive until we find something that sounds good. Then we stop and pull over and do it, whatever it is. We did one on Sunday that ended up at the beach. We ended up digging up crabs at the beach.
Cool.
Yeah, and sand dollars. And then we got in the car. We realized we were hungry after we went to Golden Gate Park for a minute. And I was driving down Lincoln and turned up on 9th Street randomly looking for a Japanese restaurant because my kids love Japanese food. And we found a place called Underdog, which is an all-organic hot dog and sausage place. And I'm not normally for me, it's like when you get a hot dog, I want my chemicals, I want my processed meat. So, because it's a hot dog. That's how we grew up in America.
Exactly.
Oscar Mayer made it that way.
Oscar Mayer,
yeah.
Exactly.
And so I was like, well, my kids really were like, let's get hot dogs. I'm like, okay. So we pulled over, and my girlfriend is all about hot dogs as well. And I was like, okay. So I in my life, I have never bought 4 hot dogs, 2 orders of tater tots, a root beer, 2 waters, and an apple juice for $47.
Oh my God!
Yeah, that's what I said. I was like, God, these are good.
Dogs.
These are good, but they're $47. It was like $50 for like 4 hot dogs. One was in defense, one was a chili cheese dog, and one was what they call wild style, which is sort of like a takeoff on In-N-Out's.
Animal.
Animal, like onions and cheese.
Double,
I was like, I'm not complaining. It was very good. So let's say that. And it is San Francisco, so things are expensive. But I was like, wow, I just spent $50 on 4 hot dogs.
Yeah, I went and had breakfast at a diner on Mission yesterday morning, and the coffee was $1.85. I'm like, that's a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
A week before, I went to a little like a motor, what do you call it? Like a catering truck that just does nothing but like sexy coffee.
Right.
$5 for one fucking cup of coffee.
See?
I almost walked away. I'm like,
I'm with you.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and then
$5 and it's mostly water?
Yeah.
Just a little flavored water?
I know.
I'm not that gourmet.
We buy our things. We buy our things and they make us happy, right? I love leather. I wear a lot of leather. I spend a lot of money on my leather,
I spend so much money too.
Clothes,
Stupid stuff. I spend money on stupid stuff.
I think we all do.
And I have a really bad track record. So I'll like buy a bunch of stuff, from like AliExpress. This is like the eBay of China.
Right.
And I think half the time I don't even get the stuff that I ordered and don't remember that I even ordered it. Because I'm so scatterbrained all the time.
Yeah. I don't order much, and when I do, I'm very particular about when the hell it's going to get here and how quick it is, because I always order stuff last minute. So I'm the kind of person that's like, oh my God, I got to travel somewhere, and I forgot to order, I don't know, whatever it was, 100 needles or whatever the thing was, and it's like 10 days before I have to get on the airplane.
Yeah.
So I'm like begging and screaming for this, delivery of this stuff. So I'm in a way that's the opposite, because I have forgotten to order it.
Yeah.
And then I'm like last minute.
You can't think of anything but that.
Exactly, right. So I've gone the opposite direction. Instead of ordering it and forgetting it, I've forgotten to order it. But yeah, no, it's...
So what was the last trip that you went on?
Oh, okay. So the last trip I went on was at the beginning of this month, beginning of May. I flew down to Florida with my partner Shay, and we went to a conference called Beyond Leather, which is it was taken. The idea Beyond Leather is they call it positive energy. So, every group and every community has its own little clique, right?
Yeah.
And so some conferences and some parties hang out with one clique. And there's some conferences and parties that try to incorporate everybody. And Beyond Leather tries to incorporate everybody, hence their name. They're trying to get past the idea of just leathery people or just a certain dynamic. I think they do a pretty good job, honestly. It's my first time down there. I felt like there was a lot of different groups represented. Who did you represent on this trip? Well, I consider myself to be a little leathery myself with a lot of leather, and the leather community. So I went down there with that and felt very comfortable.
Did you represent the motorcycle club at all? Or?
Actually, I mean, yes. I always represent the club I'm with. I'm with Bunny Chigogo, so what it was specifically is my wife and I were invited down there quite a few months ago to teach, okay. And we were planning on teaching 4 classes and doing the whole thing. And then they have a contest called the Power Exchange Contest, and it's about couples or groups that submit a couple or 3 people to sort of represent the dynamic that they're in. And that's cool. And I was like, that's neat. I want to watch this contest. And then we were invited to participate in the contest because people know who we are across the country. And so we're like, you and Shay are in a power dynamic. Why don't you guys participate? And we hemmed and hawed and hemmed and hawed and hemmed and hawed. And the long and the short is we decided that since there was a region out here called the Pacific Coast Power Exchange that was supposed to start up and it ran into some difficulties, the venue, the Citadel here locally, got hit by the what do they call the fire department? They control the size of people that can get in your company.
Yeah.
Those regulators got them. August got sick. Madam Butterfly from Seattle got sick, and Rachel Sullivan, who's the other producer, had to fly up there. So the contest got put on hold. And so the international folks were like, "You need a representative. Please, it would be really good to have a representative." And the international folks had asked Shy and I to run, not realizing we were from here. And with some discussion, Phil, August, and Rachel and the organizers decided that we should have the Pacific Coast Power Exchange title. So they gave it to us, which of course then obligated us to go run in this contest.
Oh, great!
Which we knew that when we got the contest.
Yeah.
So we went down and represented the Pacific Coast Power Exchange. Long story to get to that, but that's essentially what it was. And so we had to gather stuff. Every time you go to one of these contests, you have to gather like a basket full of items that are donated that you can auction off for a travel fund, so that the title winners have a little bit of money to help augment their travels that they're required to take when they hold the title. So I brought Legion of Sin had brought some stuff, Bon and Chigogo, Kink.com, a bunch of presenters from across the country like Poetic Desires and Great Answer and Boot Black Name Rune. Laura Antonu gave us some stuff, the writer of The Marketplace. Kink Fest donated stuff. Some toy makers donated stuff. We had an insane amount of things that we had to build and donate. But yeah, we did the contest, which is really cool, actually. If there's anybody who is ever willing to sort of put their name out there to the public, because you got to be willing to do that in your pictures, which I'm okay with, I recommend it because it's a really intimate exploration of the power exchange you have. Because what they do is you have to be willing to put your name out there. First off, that's the big one. And you have to be willing to make 4 engagements throughout the year, a minimum of 4, where you talk about power exchange or your power exchange. But how they explore you is you have to give a 10-minute presentation on your dynamic. So you have to sort of like be really intimate about who you are and how you interact. And then they have you do another presentation that's a performance based on a fantasy you have or a scene you really like or something you really like to be involved in that performance-based exposes who you are to the judges in the crowd. And then they interview you for 20 minutes where they ask you all kinds of amazing questions, personal questions. And then they watch you all weekend like you're some sort of growing specimen in a jar. It's in some ways it's really creepy and weird.
So do people follow you around with a camera or something?
Well, no. They just, they watch you specifically how you interact at the conference, and are you charismatic, or are you talking to people, or are you
So they're just physically observing you from a distance.
Exactly. They're trying to see how you interact, because ultimately what they're looking for is a representative of the group of people that do power exchanges, which is sort of, first off, is kind of an assumption, because that means, like, in theory, I represent hundreds of people that went to this conference right now, and by extension, I am a representative of the thousands, if not millions, of people that may participate in a power exchange. They don't know that, but that's sort of, I become this face for them. Shay and I really had a blast doing it. A lot of stress, but had a blast. We did this performance where Shay's a survivor of domestic violence. When she was much younger, her first marriage, this guy was really horrible to her, drank a lot, beat her, nasty domestic violence stuff. And the leather community, the BDSM community, was really healing for her, freeing, got her to believe in herself and understand that she was a better person. I mean, I was obviously involved in that, but it was a combination of myself and the BDSM kink people that got her to feel really confident. I mean, when I first met her, she was this huge introvert. Now look at her. You've seen her.
Yeah.
She runs around like she's in charge of everything, which she sort of is sometimes, actually, let's be fair. But
she handles it well.
Exactly. And but we did this 10-minute performance where she starts off, comes in this white dress, which you realize is made out of paper once you see it, but from a distance it looks like this white dress. She's folding laundry and looking rather mousy, which for you I can imagine is difficult to imagine because you've seen Shay.
From a stage, I can see how.
But from a stage moment you could give it, but to see powerful Shay goes back to mousy Shay, and this guy comes on, who's instantly me, but glasses, bandana, the whole different look, and I'm abusive and mean to her, and there's no vocal, you can't hear my voice, so I don't say anything, but the push her around, hit her, knock over her laundry. I find her cell phone and I'm pissed off about something with the cell phone. You don't know what, but you can see it. I break her cell phone. Thankfully, I have a collection of old cell phones. And then I take out these pieces of paper that have horrible insults on them that a lot of abuse survivors go through. And that you label yourself like, worthless or fat or ugly or all these different things that we've talked to people who've been abused that they label themselves. So this horrible guy labels her all over this white dress on these pieces of paper that are taped to her. And
like big signs?
Yeah, big,
okay.
Like 8.5 by 11 gigantic pieces of paper. And he does some more abuse things, and then as he leaves in a huff, and I go backstage when I do that, and I change into like this all leather outfit and try to look a little bit more like a Leatherman or Stefanos or something like that, right? She puts the last sign on herself, covers herself up with from a distance it's just a black robe, but it really is my old graduation robe from college. I don't have a lot of props here, people. Okay. I'm just traveling with
work with what you got.
Work with what you got, right? And so I do that. She's again still mousy, tries to cover up. This other character comes out, dances with her, eventually gets her to drop this robe and expose all these horrible things, these quote-unquote flaws that she has, right? He takes one off of her and rips it off and starts to dance. And as we're dancing, she becomes more and more animated and more excited.
And less mousy.
Right, and more animated. And eventually, another song change, and Strip Me by Natasha Bedingfield comes on, which I think is a beautiful song about that exact sort of thing. And she hands me 2 single tails. Now, you know where this is going. I strip off all the signs piece by piece, strip off all of her clothes piece by piece. She's throwing the tissue paper in the air. I'm breaking it in the air. She stands up, runs at me. We make out. We dance a little bit more. She eventually kneels. I tell you this story because Shay and I were thinking about this performance for like almost 2 years. Never could find a place to do it because it's very serious, It's about abuse. It's very it can feel like a downer, and we weren't sure how it'd be received. So we look over at the 7 judges who are in front of the audience, which is like 300 people deep that are watching this thing. And we're nervous as hell, and we're stressed out. This is the last thing we have to do before tomorrow when we do the interview, right? It's Friday night. And we've slept very little. We're both very emotional. And there's 7 judges. And all these judges are just sitting there with tears raining down their eyes, right? Which is a huge relief to us.
Yeah.
Right? And we look out in the audience.
I'm getting chills just hearing this
story.
And
the audience stands up and starts to cheer. And a bunch of them had been crying.
Wow.
And Shay and I look at each other in surprise, and it's almost hitting me now, and we instantly just burst into tears because we're so done and we're so raw from all this stuff. So that was like the big thing.
I can imagine just finally doing this performance was just a release in itself.
Yeah.
Having all of this, these thoughts and ideas.
And I actually hate practicing that skit because I hate the guy that I have to be. Like, that's not me. And, like, I promised myself years ago I wouldn't be an angry guy like my father was, right? So, like, this is really hardcore for me. And so it was such a huge release to, like, be done with it. And, and we spent about an hour after the performance talking to people who were coming up telling us their stories, an unexpected sort of side effect. I didn't know people would be coming up to me and, like, telling me a story. I watched a woman walk up on stage. Some of the signs I was trying to tape onto her, I was so nervous in the process, I fucked up the tape and the sign fell off. And a woman walked up and grabbed one of the 8.5 by, whenever they are, 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper that said fat. And she tore it up, like, angrily. I mean, just pissed. And threw it down and crumpled it up again and tore it up some more. And she came and talked to us afterwards. And that was one of the things that a former abuser used to say to her. You're fat and you're worthless and nobody loves you. So I didn't realize the kind of effect this would have on people.
Wow.
Like, it was insane. And it was really awesome for us as well. But, I mean, it was really powerful. And then, we did the interview, and of course there was a lot of questions about the performance, right? Like, why and how and all that. But I think, for us, a lot of the problems, the reason we did it is because it's a powerful thing to us. And a lot of folks in the world can look at BDSM and question whether it's abusive. Is that really okay? Outside of our community.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe this needs to be said. So, but ultimately we did win that happy title, which is now, we now have the title of the International Power Exchange 2014 as a couple.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So we now travel across the country with that, doing that. That really will change a whole lot of what we do. Because last year we did 47 classes in 16 venues in 2 different countries. So I don't think they'll change a whole lot.
I don't know. You might be doing more.
A little bit more.
Maybe in more demand now.
A little bit. I mean, I think ultimately it's going to give me a little bit more to talk about, more people to ask questions about what we do, which I think is awesome.
Yes.
We've already done interviews with Kinky.com, with Leatherati, with Leather Journal, Fearless Press. You've given me the opportunity to talk about it, so as well we have Fet.Talk here. There's a few others that want to talk to us, I know that. So that's another really awesome thing of getting messages out. So one of the things I've been asking people is there something that you would like us to talk about to make sure people know something that's important to you? Whoever that is, whoever that person is. I think it's important if we're getting a chance to, like, address people. It can't just be about whatever this is. If it's an opportunity, let's make it bigger. Let's make it more inclusive.
All right. Well, I'm definitely going to add a link to the show where people can reach you to
Sure.
tell you what their questions are.
You can go to our website, and our email's on there. So our website is Stefanos and Shay. So that's STEFANOS and Shay, SHAY.com.
Okay.
So, and on there you can find a link to us and our information or whatever have you, and links to this Power Exchange contest, if that's something that interests people. Links to the conferences we travel to if they're interested in finding a conference near them, because we do it coast to coast. And there's way more conferences than we even go to. I mean, if I tried to hit every single conference that the kink community hosted, I would never be home and never make them all anyway. So, it's crazy. But yeah, you asked what we did, and that's one of the things that
was just your last one.
That was like 5 days, and I couldn't have done. We brought with my girlfriend, who's also my submissive, who we call Koala. She doesn't want her real name used.
Okay.
On FetLife, she goes by Tartlet. She's on my profile for those people that are on FetLife that care.
Yes.
You can see her. You can see her body, actually. She doesn't post her face. Sorry.
Well, I've invited her to the show.
Yes.
But just kind of like bringing it up, not really setting a date. One of these days.
Well, she usually comes into the city on the weekends, so we'd have to arrange a weekend time if we did it. if she wants to, I'll make sure she gets her butt down here to see you, because I absolutely, in all the years that I've known you, we've come and gone and never been like absolutely on top of each other, but we've always run into each other. You've always been a great guy. You've always been upstanding. You've always followed through on your word. You've always volunteered and helped out. I can't imagine someone better reaching out to the world and telling people about stuff, because you've seen and been connected to so many of the places that I love for longer than I have been.
Thank you.
So I think you have seen and have the perspective on who to talk to and your own opinions that are good, that I think mesh well with being open to other people's stuff in addition to your own.
Yes.
So I'm just excited to see you're doing this. I mean, someone should be interviewing you about what you're doing as well. I think that would be an important thing to add to this whole entire scenario.
Maybe one day, yeah.
I think it should be. I mean,
but the time has to come for that to happen. And I'm still like going through this whole discovery thing of like, I don't know what's going to happen next.
right.
Kink Live invited us to come and broadcast every day if we want. As webcamming. We're like, how do we do that? That sounds fun. And girls go on and guys jerk off to watching the girls and they make money. How am I going to make money doing this?
I'm not sure how you'd make money doing it, but I think I can tell you what a really great interest about it is. Kink.com is not just a porn company in what they want to do for a goal. They make porn. There's no question about that. I'm part of that.
Yes.
I mean, I help make porn, every day when I go to work. But the goal of Kink has always been to reach into a larger space, and they've never quite been able to fully achieve that because they weren't sure how or where, and they have to have an income stream, right? So they got to make their money. But I've seen them in the last few years, especially 4. I know longer than that, but the last 4 years I've worked there, trying to reach out to the community and make inroads in some way to recognize that they're connected to them and that the community has supported them. And part of my job was to do that with the upper floor, where I create the guest list, and you were there, and things like that, where I was actually asked to create a community of extras that go and participate in the upper floor, and I've done the best I can. I feel like I've made a very welcoming, respectful, responsible space. One could argue whether or not it's a community. I feel like it is, but we'll let the world decide that, not me. But what they're trying to do is they're trying to reach into the world and connect it. So to have a show like this broadcasting off of their base, I'm not sure about its income stream for you, and I don't think it would give them any money, but to give you any bandwidth and connection to do it would help people to recognize that there's a connection they are trying to make and they are making successfully with the communities that make up Kink.
Actually, one of the things that we were talking about, Aslan, my producer, we were talking about using the Kink Live space as kind of not necessarily a recruiting platform, but there's a lot of girls that would love to do webcamming to make a little extra money. They don't quite know how to get into it. They're a little afraid of it. If we used our show to introduce them slowly, so they don't have to go on the first time by themselves and feel stupid and what do I do? We can kind of debut them on our show, talk about them, sit with them for a while, and then for maybe 45 minutes, just let whoever might be watching get to know them. And for the last 15 minutes, they can buy a show to watch her very first performance ever.
There
the
you go.
Virgin show of this new performer.
You're already thinking of good stuff, and that's the kind of thing that I know Kink is working on getting people involved in. And I mean, I work there, and one of my jobs is to help people be comfortable, relaxed, and understand what we're about.
Yes.
Okay. Well, if you're providing that space, what more could be wrong? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. That's a perfect space to create, and I like that.
And I'm also fond of the idea of doing just breaking the myths. The myths, so many people don't know what goes on behind the scene, and there's you have a behind the scene thing.
Yeah, but it's not as prevalent or as big as I would like. I really would love people to watch.
I would like to be able to take a selfie stick with a little just a cell phone camera on it and just walk around saying this is happening and this is they're not filming right now. Look, they're just sitting around talking and drinking coffee, and having that kind of live. live streaming on YouTube if possible, where there's nothing sexual going on my show, but we're behind the scenes, and girls are they're putting their robe on when I show up, and they're talking about. But the best would be to get that little interview at the end of every video.
Yes, my favorite video actually is one of them. So
taking that little moment when she has to do her little 5-minute outro, and then before she goes and takes a shower, get her into one of the studios and say, "So tell us, what was that experience like?" And really because she's in the moment.
Right.
She's in the moment. She just had this crazy experience, and to really express that would be a good time.
It is a good time. Actually, that's why it's one of my favorite interviews.
It'd be a good show.
Because you can see them when they're done and listen to them talk about what happened.
Yes.
I mean, there's really nothing in that interview that needs to be said by the model or by the director.
Right.
That's the interesting part. Is it's not at all canned.
Right. It's just that, yes, I'm happy. That was a fun scene, and I wasn't forced to do it.
Right.
Kind of.
Yeah, it's just a verification that they're okay.
Yeah.
But some of the stuff the model's saying afterwards is really fun to listen to, because it's really uncensored. Because they just finished, they still have the endorphins a little bit, they still have the fun, and even if it's 20 minutes later, they still have the excitement and the happiness of having finished it. And so they say some amazingly fun things in the interview, being happy, and that continues.
That's what I want to capture.
And you're going to love this. We were just talking about my wife, Shay, and that is who is texting me because she has forgotten that I was doing this. So she was all worried because she was like, "You haven't texted me. What's going on?" So I just told her, and so she says to say hello to Robinson. So, hello. But yeah, so hello to everybody. So, but yeah, so hello from Shay. She's being her ER nurse self right now. So she's all dressed up in her sexy, baggy scrubs, hopefully not elbow deep in something medical.
Not ER costumey, fetishy stuff, but real.
Nope. Yeah.
Real stuff.
Yeah, not some sort of tight white latex. There's a picture of her in her, that you've seen on my website, maybe of the white latex outfit. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Nope, nothing so sexy. Most likely some sort of monotoned set of scrubs with a badge and, being the medical professional that she is. So.
I did a 2-day internship at the end of my EMT certification. Mm-hmm. I had to go do 2 days in a hospital. It was interesting.
Yeah, I could never do it.
I could do it all day. I know how stressful it is, but I love that kind of stress.
I find myself to be way too empathetic in situations like that, and I have seen medical professionals have to say no.
Yeah.
And I think I would suffer. I think I'd have a very hard time saying no. I tell a joke that I have a problem where I say no all the time, but my speech impediment forces the word problem to follow it. So it often says, no problem, damn it! So that's my joke. But I sit in places like that and I just want to help. And I don't feel like I would have very good boundaries for that.
Yeah. I find myself helping people.
Yeah.
I'm the guy with the van, so when some cute girl has to move, it's like,
yeah.
Can you help me?
Can you help me?
No problem.
Yeah, exactly. No problem. Damn it.
Oh,
yeah, it happens. It falls out of your mouth that way. So, oh my God. Yes. I'm trying to think. My life has been so crazy with all the things lately. It's like, I actually thought this moment was last week, Tuesday. I was 3/4 of the way home to where I live, and I'm on a motorcycle going, oh God, I missed the interview. I got to send him a message when I get home. Because I was already mostly home, so there's no sense of turning around.
Yeah.
So I got home and checked my calendar. I'm like, oh, that's next week. Oh, that's how busy I've been. I thought I had to come in Tuesday. Because I left. I just went home after work. I was tired. I was exhausted. I'm going home. Because I just did that trip. And I'm so glad it's this week. Because I've just been so busy with because I leave Thursday afternoon to go to Iowa for another teaching gig. So I'm gonna fly from here to Denver, from Denver to Des Moines. Friday teach, Saturday teach, Sunday come home. And then in a few weeks after that, I fly to Maryland to do it again. I'll take a red eye out to Maryland, get in a car for 2 hours to drive to the site where we're teaching, work with some other people, have a party there because it's a big conference.
And this is no problem with your schedule at Kink?
That's a little bit of a problem sometimes.
Do they have to? What is your when you say you're working there every day? What is your job? What do you do from the time you go in? And,
all right, so
I only know you as the steward.
That's right.
Of the
That's
upper
right.
floor.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's right. You don't actually
capacity
sit behind. That's right. I forgot. Okay, so basically speaking, my official job title inside the company, like in HR, when you go look up Stefanos, and it says production assistant, which is
could be anything from getting coffee.
Yeah, it's like, it's whatever, right?
Yeah.
What my job really is for the website, thetrainingofo.com. It's a 4-day training program, or in Fantasyland, it's a 4-day training program where the model goes through 4 specific days of training and ends up being evaluated as to whether or not she is a quote unquote slave candidate or not. Put that in quotes. My job there is to set up, clean up, take and edit photographs and stills of the shoot, and make sure that the set and the model are safe. So simple things from everybody has water and snacks, to sanitizing the set, to building devices that my boss may need, to helping rig, sling rope, aftercare moments like, okay, the scene's over, help untie, make sure they're safe. I have to know first aid. I've never had to use it. Knock on wood. Oh, is that wood? Yeah. Drywall, something like that. So I have to be aware of those kind of things. But the main portion of that job, like the part that the outside world sees, is my photography and the editing of that photography.
Okay.
So that's the part that goes on the website that people see. The other part, you don't know whether or not I've done it, or when I've made something safe or whatever have you. And then for the upperfloor.com, I'm listed as the producer. And up there, behind the scenes, instead of everybody sees the on-camera personality, right? The 4 hours of the guy in the ascot and the nicely cut dress shirt and the whole deal with the party and fondling the girls and being a rock star. And that's fun. I mean, I love my character. The cross between Tony Stark and Hugh Hefner is amazing to play on camera. But while I'm doing all that, I'm still making sure everybody's safe, because I'm still in a slightly production assistant role.
Yeah, you are overseeing the whole thing.
Right. So I'm the one making sure the caterers doing their thing. I'm the one that gathers the community together. I'm the one that tries to motivate them. I'm the MC. I'm a model on set as well sometimes, or all the time. Sometimes I actually will have sex with the models too. So I'm kind of a catch-all up there. It's a lot of work. I really love it.
You're kind of the only guy up there too. You're like, there's you.
I'm the face and the personality.
And then there's the slaves.
And James Mogul is my boss. He's the director. He's the one that actually comes up with everything and makes all the final decisions of it all. Of how it's going to lay out. And, right. Okay. If there was someone who wrote the checks, it'd be him. But he leaves it.
He'd be good to have on the show.
James is an incredible guy. Yeah. He's a kinky pervert, part of the tribe like us. He started early 90s, I think. He comes from the same set of ethics that, pretty much the same set of ethics that I have. So close that, it'd be minuscule to define the part. I really mesh with the way he thinks and works because of that. He's extremely collaborative, which is one of my favorite things about him. He'll come to you with this plan. He's like, okay, I got this plan, and he'll tell you what he's going to do. But as he's telling you, he's saying, this is what I want. But he says it and means it in such a way that, do you think that'll work? And he actually expects real input and actually will change things. That's not to say other directors over there don't. It's just, how some bosses are, where they look at you and go,
you can't do it this way, you're fired.
Or they give you the impression that you have input, but really they don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Okay, so he actually does. So it's a lot of fun, so it becomes a collaboration to build it, which is a really beautiful leadership technique, because then what does that do? It makes me part of it, gives me part ownership. Of course I want to work there. Yeah. It's a beautiful technique, and it's absolutely perfect for humanity, I think, because that's a great way to work. If you're included, you're included. But yeah, he really is good at making sure people get what they want in the scene as well. So like the models, making sure that
So
they're good.
So he incorporates all of their desires and limitations into the whole play scene.
Just like you do in the kink scene where there's not porn being made, where like you negotiate
Absolutely,
and you try
yeah.
to figure out what everybody wants from the scene. Like, what do you want, right? Like, what is the thing you're seeking in this scene? He actually, I mean, you know, you're hiring a model to have sex and or do BDSM, right? So we already know that's in there. The model is hired to either, you know, fuck the girl or get fucked by the guy, right? To be frank. That's the base level of what they're being hired for. They know that. That's in the contract, right? You're being hired to do boy-girl. So everybody knows they're going to get laid.
Yeah.
Okay, so now it's a matter of how do we get laid? So that's where the negotiation comes in. So it's not like a normal scene where you're sort of wondering, is there going to be sex involved? We know that.
Yeah.
It's a porn company. We know that, right? Someone's getting laid. Someone's doing oral sex. Someone's having regular sex. Maybe there's anal sex, but someone's having fun. So we have to figure out how, best way, make everybody comfortable. I mean, it's a little stressful on set. You know, there's cameras, there's people. You know, just because you're a professional doesn't mean it always works just fine. So you got to make it comfortable for everybody.
Yeah.
And he's really amazing at doing that. I don't think it's ever been uncomfortable for me ever when I worked with him as a model. If anything, I feel like sometimes he gives everybody too much freedom. It's not really true because he's very good at like corralling things, but he's very clear that I'm not in a rush, so you don't have to be. You know, where other companies and production companies and even other directors at the Armory sort of feel like they're always rushing you. Like, we got to get this all packed in. Got to get this all packed in.
Right.
He has the same attitude, but he doesn't want to rush you into it because if he rushes you, then you feel the stress, and then it makes it harder on you. So he's very good at containing his stress. It's amazing. So, but yeah, I would end that with that's what I do at the Armory, but it's not because that's obviously just what James does. But
yeah. Okay, I was just thinking about something the other day. I was watching this show on Netflix called Oddities.
Mm-hmm. The San Francisco Oddities, right?
San Francisco Oddities, and I thought the first episode, you know, there's Courtney Crimson and Baker.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow. And then someone else I knew, and then I saw you on the second episode. And that was pretty interesting. I wanted to ask you, the character that you play, is that yourself, or is that something that they wrote for you?
Okay, so
because you talk about this whole like gypsy background and
all right. So here's how it goes. So they call me up. They get my phone number from someone in San Francisco. Rather, they emailed me. Sorry, they emailed me. Saw my website. Emailed me. Said they had an interesting look. They wanted to talk to me. They called me. We chatted. They were trying to figure out.
It's the producers.
Yeah, how to use me on the show. So they interviewed me and whatever have you, and basically all they could come up with was, they know I like playing in blood in a kink way, which is a variety of different things. We can talk about that if you want to another time, or when I'm done with this story even. I don't care. But so they were like, oh yeah, we could use that. So what they do though is that if you don't, well, I can't guarantee this. In my case, they were looking for an artifact to give me.
Okay.
So the cannibal fork was not mine.
Okay. Is this something that the store already owned?
No, this is something the producers gave me.
Okay.
I don't actually know what happens to the fork for real. I know that I was given the fork, and that was something I was to sell.
That was your prop.
That was my prop. And I know that may seem like it would cheapen or loosen the episode, but the people who own said prop, of course, I was told that how this works is that the actual props that you use are to be sold at some point.
Yeah.
So the price I negotiated for on the show is obviously not what really happened, is my guess. Because I wasn't really negotiating for the seller.
But is the story about? Is it really?
I was told it is.
Okay.
So my understanding is that prop belongs to someone who does want to sell it.
Okay.
So I am, of course, not their agent actually selling it, so I don't really know what actually happened afterwards. But the stories I told. Okay, so here's how the stories go. So my family did own carnivals. Okay, and they were in a circus. My family did travel a lot, did run around the country a lot. There's a fortune teller in my family. The word gypsy would be a little bit of a stretch.
Okay.
In the ethnic...
Carny would be a good word.
Carny is the perfect word.
Perfect word,
okay? Yeah. And gypsy in the sort of, not derogatory, but like sideways, colloquial term for someone who travels a lot, but is not, I wouldn't say Rom, or I wouldn't say from that history, right? So that sort of ethnic grabbing of the word is wrong, but that's what they wanted. So I went there. Obviously, my grandmother didn't give me the fork because my grandma, I just admitted it wasn't my fork.
Yeah.
But what they did is they wanted me to incorporate this artifact into a piece of plausible family history. Okay. So I imagined to myself, if there was a cannibal fork in my life, and my grandmother or my aunt or one of my crazy relatives would know that I played in blood, and that I have drank other people's blood as part of BDSM scenes, or capsulated it in little things for people to keep. And that I had a fascination with this sort of process without considering myself, vampiric or wanting to be like in some sort of, novel about that. I don't do that sort of thing mentally with myself. What would they do? And that's what I could. That's in those moments. That's as quick as I could arrive at. Like, well, of course, Steph would like to.
So
have this
it's historically correct fiction.
Yes, everything I said would is based on exactly how my life was. But I mean, like I said, if you pull the fork out, obviously the whole story falls apart. Yeah. But I had to sort of imagine what my family would have done, and so that's what I did. So
you got to write your own lines, basically.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was all. There was no real lines. It was all just.
Did you improv it, or did you?
Yeah, it was all improv.
Oh, okay.
The only thing that they had me do was they fed me back what I said if they needed a retake.
Okay.
So if they wanted me to repeat specific moments I said, they fed them back word for word to me. They had a script supervisor that was able to copy down what I said or hear what I said and repeat it to me off the recording. So there were retakes I had to do that they fed me what I said.
Okay.
But it was something I already said, so it wasn't like they were feeding me a line.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. It's
so it really was
line.
all my own words. But there was times I had to be fed, like. They're like, say that thing again, and I'm like, what the hell did I say?
When you're just talking, you don't remember.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know what the hell I just said. Let's see if she has another message for us. Nope, no sudden messages of love.
Okay.
But Tartlet does say she loves me. Aw, okay. So
she's adorable.
Yeah, I do absolutely adore her. So, but yeah, so that's what that was. That was fun though, because that was So Wednesday, who was one of the store owners, went to the store, I know her, and so we showed up. We were all supposed to sort of pretend we don't know each other, which was sort of awkward. Yeah, I don't know her. So that we worked that out. The one thing and I hope if they ever hear this, I don't get sued or in trouble for this, any of these things I'm saying, because I don't remember. I signed something, but it was years ago, so maybe it doesn't matter. But the one thing I really am sad about is as I watched the edit of it, and they made a point to edit it strangely, so when I said I drink blood, they had to edit that funny, so it sounds really well. I drink blood, or something like they added emphasis to it when they cut it. And I had spoke to them before and during the filming, very specifically, and I'm aware that the characters you bring on the show are a little overblown. Maybe perhaps that's who they really are, but they're a little big. Is there anything particular you'd like from me so that I could be big in the way that you need for your show? Thus offering to say, you want me to be a little crazy, I'll be a little crazy for you. And they would never, ever give me anything. They would never ever give me anything, no matter what I did. Right? I was like, I wanted to give it to them, right? So they, and I watched them edit some of the things I say, so I sounded a little bit nuts, a little bit off my rocker, right? Like someone who would have a cannibal fork from his grandma, which is like in their mind, like some sort of fantasy version of me. And I'm like, why would you do that? I gave that to you for free. I told you could have it, So I know that when they were interviewing me outside of Love to Death, they were trying to get me to answer questions in a different way, and I was like, I was answering him, and I occasionally said in the takes, I'm like, is there an answer that, is there an avenue you'd rather I went down? No, you're doing fine. And I'm like, okay. But I sort of felt like when I watched the edit that they were trying to like edge it up. And I'm like, dude, I would have edged it up for you. I didn't know how far I could go. And I wouldn't even have had to lie. Like I wouldn't have to make anything up. I would have like, told them more things.
But they want to use camera effects like that. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, I know. And I'm like, oh, I could have
emphasize those things.
I know. I'm like, I could have totally given you something, for real too, like something from my life, because I think every human has a crazy thing in their life that they can talk about, or 12 or 100.
Yeah.
You just got to give them the opportunity. I mean, we've all done things, Oh, God,
do you think you'll ever write a book?
People ask me that. I would love to. I don't know if I'll slow down enough ever to do it.
I've been told that for as long as I can remember, because I left home pretty young, and I think by the time I was around 25, people were just like, "You've done what? You've been where? You need to write this down. You need to write a book." I'm like, okay. First, I need to learn how to read, because I really didn't read. I didn't read anything. I didn't read a book until I was 25.
Oh wow.
The first book I read was actually I did read one book. As a teenager, it was Jonathan Livingston Seagull. I was obligated to read that by my probation officer when I was in trouble. It's like, you need to read this, and I'm glad I did, because it showed me an example of who I am in society from an outside perspective instead of just from my own perspective, because I just didn't get people at all. Nobody got me, so that book helped. But for a decade, everyone said, you've got to read The Little Prince.
Oh yeah.
And so I finally read it, and it was like, wow,
that's a book.
That's an amazing book.
Yeah.
So I traveled from like age 14 to 30, and never like being anywhere. And so, at 30, when I stopped traveling and got married and had a kid, I thought, okay, it's time to write a book. I'm glad I didn't, because so much more has happened since then.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, now I think about, I would like to write a book, but I still have so much more to do.
Yeah, it's weird. People are like, you should write it down, and I'm like, I don't know where I would start. And the irony of that is, I have a degree in writing. I have a degree in writing where I spent half of my life, or half of my years in college, doing creative writing and academic writing, and I had a dream, as it were, to be a writer. And now I'm writing stuff in less than 1,000 words, promos and letters and Twitter and to get people's attention, and to write educational material, which is what I used to do. At least I'm still doing that, but it's not the same as you'd think, because really when I studied writing, I was looking for how people communicated. I've always felt I've been better in person, and written words were always very difficult for me to articulate. But I fell in love with writing at a young age because of a couple things. One, I had a horrible speech impediment when I was younger. I used to have what they call a block stutter. It's when you open your mouth and nothing comes out. You're trying to say something very difficult, and your brain is running at a different frequency essentially than your mouth. Is how I describe it.
Okay.
You literally just sit there with your mouth open, and you want the words to come up, but they don't. It's like those weird dreams when you're trying to scream and you can't.
Yes.
And that's what's actually happening in my head when I was a kid. So I started writing more, and luckily my parents were were fortunate enough. My father had enough money to send me to a speech therapist, so I could get over it. I wish I could remember what they taught me, because clearly I should remember that stuff to slow down my speech now, because now I talk so fast and so much. It's like all that stuff that was blocked up, I'm getting out. But
you do articulate very well. It's not like you mumble it or anything.
Oh, well, thank you.
Some people talk fast and mumble. What'd you say? What'd you say?
I
have a hard time hearing most people because I don't have the best hearing. But you're great. When it comes to you're loud. You don't need a microphone at Bondage Go Go. Everybody else does. You don't. You just have have a good command. You're clear. You're a good spokesperson. You're a really good.
Thank you.
Upstage, front man for whatever.
The funny thing is, in the family I grew up in, you sort of had to learn to upstage someone else to get it.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, we sort of had to. we were all loud talkers. We were all storytellers. A lot of us were in my family. We just had a lot of shit to say, I guess. And I really picked it up from them. I mean, my father, for all the times I get down on him for some of his flaws that I'm not proud of. To quote my father, he's a bullshit artist. Oh my God, could he talk? Tell you a story, and I never wanted to turn away. Never wanted to close my ears, because he always had something good to add to the story, something interesting to say. So did my grandmother, come to think about it, and my mom. They just all were like that, and so I really picked up on that as much as I could. And I think that's where I got it from. Is I was always mesmerized by their ability to sort of keep people's attention, and somewhere.
Well,
in there,
I guess that kind of a carnival barking thing too.
Oh yeah.
I did my day. I had a couple of years where I was traveling with the carnival. So
What'd you do?
I did like the coin toss for a while. I did the kiddie rides at first.
The coin toss was the first job I had. It was a dime toss.
Yeah.
At the dime toss.
Dime and any top dish wins. Come on.
Yep.
Spend a dime on your girl. Isn't she worth a dime? Come here, sweetie. I'll spend $1 on you. Make the guy feel like shit, so he's got to spend something. Yeah.
Oh, I agree. Yep.
And we used to spray silicone on the dishes and wipe them clean.
Yep.
Nothing was going to land on that fucker.
Yep. Oil. Yeah, we polish them with oil. Yeah. Exactly. Polish them with oil. I was 11 or 12 in a little town called Wishick, North Dakota, where the Tri-County Fair was at. That was my first job. The boss's carny name should have given it all away. His name was Crazy. That was my boss's name, who paid me in cash.
The thing that I hated about that job was my fingers would be black.
Yep, from the dimes.
Because you're standing there, you just want to put them in your pocket.
Yep, you have that apron.
The apron
with the two pockets.
And it's like after like a half an hour, your fingers are fucking black.
Yep, and if it was at all cold, your fingers were freezing because they were in the metal.
Yeah,
they were in the metal. But boy, did you ever? You got really good at counting out $1.
Yes,
in dimes.
I know. The size of it.
Yeah, you could almost flick it out with your thumb in 1 second. Think there's $1, there's $1, there's $1. Yep. Yeah. Oh, that was. I remember that, and then all the animals and the whatever crap they bought, that shitty smelling Midway Carnival stuffing that came in all the animals. You remember that? Yes. Whatever it was, it always smelled awful. It never was soft and fluffy, no matter what you wanted.
And don't get it wet, whatever you do.
Oh God, yeah.
Black mold.
I'm sorry, all my old Carney family. I'm sorry. But I got to tell you, it was like that. But it was good. It was a fun experience because I think if that experience would teach anybody anything, looking back on it, it's that one, people really want attention. They really want you to pay attention to them. Two, you can achieve nearly the impossible with a group of people, because here you are traveling across the country, setting this stuff up, tearing it down, setting it up, tearing it down, and jerry-rigging everything, right? Making stuff work with duct tape and baling wire, as it were, and working together as a team. Even though I know those families fight, I know that each booth, each carnival has its cliques, and they all fight amongst each other for whatever, but if you look at it from a bigger sense, everybody got everything done, and you all traveled in one group to get it done, and you protected each other.
Yeah.
And it really is. It really was. I think it was a great lesson.
Like any family. Yeah. You got bickering in between, and you pull it together when you need to.
And I think that's an importantly awesome lesson that I was able to, and as I aged out of it, realize well, wait, we can do this. I mean, if we could pack pickup trucks and RVs with all the supplies and crazy stuff and haul out to 100 miles and set up our own site in the middle of Wishick, North Dakota, which is this know-nothing town, with the only thing it had there was a livestock yard and a hospital. That was worth talking about. And this carnival once a year.
Yeah.
And that was it, and it was, everybody came to it. And I was like, if we can make this happen, we should be able to do anything. That's kind of how I look at life.
And there's nothing else to do all year, so everyone's there.
Yeah. North Dakota, man. It's in the middle. You're farming all year. That's it.
I was in South Dakota for a minute.
Oh yeah,
that was fun.
I lived in North Dakota from the age 3 till I finished 8th grade. I don't think I could have had a better childhood in that area. in that sense because like didn't have to lock my doors. I mean, my parents could find me in like 2 phone calls if they couldn't see me. I was able to ride ATVs and ride horses.
That's cool.
My father traveled for a living, so I did spend a lot of time in the summers traveling to larger cities to get a different grasp of the world.
Yeah.
Where I was able to travel to, comparably where I was. Keep in mind, I was like in a town of 1,000 people. So Minneapolis, Chicago, St. Louis, New Orleans, New York City, Miami. We went to a lot of different places when I was a kid, where my father sold jewelry, and he sold loose diamonds. So I grew up around these beautiful rocks when I was a kid. So, it was an amazing experience to like live in this safe, secure, little know-nothing town, and be able to like travel to all these places when I was older. I've seen almost every state in the union with through my father.
That's good.
Yeah, so it was cool to grow up in that way, to have that to go home to. So I look back on my time in North Dakota pretty fondly. The flat plains of nothing with with very few trees, but it became a comforting sound in my older age. So.
Okay, let's take a little break.
Sure.
We have to do a tape swap. So
No problem. The worst part about talking to me is I just keep talking.
I think I introduced you to Victoria about a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember Victoria?
Yeah.
She's looked a lot like Mia with the short black hair, but she had bangs and got a lot of attention. I've talked to her all the time, but haven't seen her in a long time.
Okay.
She's been in Washington, kind of waiting for her mother to cross that threshold. Her mom's been dying from cancer, and she just like has reached this point, and she like wants to be there because it's going to be any day,
right.
And that day isn't coming. So she's like getting sick of being in D.C. and waiting for her mom to die. So she's coming back in a couple of weeks, and I'm really looking forward to bringing her to the upper floor. We never got to go to the upper floor.
You're right, you didn't.
And I always wanted to take her there. I brought Mia there a couple of times, and she had a lot of fun. She is a fun girl.
Yes.
And very fond of you. And
I have pretty photos with her,
That
too.
door is wide open for you if you ever want to play with her. She'd hop in her car and drive up here in a heartbeat. Unfortunately, at the moment, my relationship with her is kind of on hold.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Not quite coming to the proper understanding of, who we are and what we want. And I have to focus on other things at the moment, and she's so far away, and she's trying to finish school. But
Well, school is important.
yeah, school is important, and I don't want.
Well, school is important if you know what you're going to use it for.
And she does.
Then it's important.
So I'm going to see if I can maybe bring her up pretty soon too. I want Mia to meet Victoria.
Well, that would be good.
I think it would be great.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry.
Maybe
Well,
a fun couple to take out.
Well, you always seem to meet these incredible women. One of the things I've noticed is you meet the ones that are far away from you, though. He says, winking at you. But you manage to pull together these incredibly. I was about to say. I want to use the word articulate because, like, as an example, Mia's super shy. But what I mean is articulate because they're able, like when I've spoken to them, to give me such a clear understanding of where they are right this moment, like in that moment that they're at. And I love that about them. So I'm not sure what it is your charm is, my friend, but continue to bring the articulate ones back to the world because that's what I think the world needs. Because I see too many people that are excited but unclear on how to communicate what they're looking for, and it scares me for them because I'm like, you need to slow down there. Yeah. You need to slow down there. You need to find a way to fine tune those needs. I like to tell people it is about expectations, and if the expectations of the group you're entering are different than yours, you're already in trouble.
From the get-go.
Yep. And if the expectations of you and your lover are also different, you're already in trouble. So you have to figure out what you're expecting. Even if it's wrong, just figure out some expectation that you have of when you go into looking to create a relationship of some kind.
Well, to be honest with you, I don't like, they find me.
Yeah, okay.
I don't go out hunting for, my prey. I just set my trap, I guess. I don't know. I don't have a trap. I just, present myself, and here I am, and I get, once in a while, somebody comes along.
You've certainly brought wonderful people, I'll tell you that. So what is your next travel? I am kind of curious.
I'm kind of curious too. I've been wanting to go to Iceland forever. I went to Japan for a week and I fucking loved it. I can't wait to go back to Japan.
Oh wow. I have not been to Japan yet.
And it took me the week I was there to figure out that they are really all submissive by nature, of the girls. Because I had, I would meet people from other countries that were there that owned shops or whatever, and they're like, so are you having fun with the, But I didn't stay in a hotel. I was just staying at a friend's place. So I didn't have the opportunity to take anyone home on a date or anything. And I was really limited with my funds and everything. And so I was just kind of wandering around, just taking it all in and just talking to people and learning a lot of very interesting stuff.
Wow. And,
this one shop owner was like, all you have to do is just take her by the hand. She will never say no. She in Japan, when a young girl is approached by an older man, it's considered a very honorable thing. Not like a you creepy old pedophile thing, but it's like somebody who's with wisdom and knowledge is interested in me. That's honorable. And they have a whole different take on it. So I want to go there knowing that. And I lived in Germany for 3 years, and that was a whole interesting thing too. You go, in America, you walk into any bar, whether it's a nice bar or a douchebag bar, you're going to have guys that are going in, going, which girls are available, which ones are cute. And the girls are all kind of huddled up with each other, and they're talking about girl stuff. And you just have to wait and hope that maybe one of them will, make a little eye contact with you, and you can say, "Hey, what's up?" In Germany, I learned right away that it's completely the opposite. The guys sit together and drink beer and talk about cars and this and that, and the girls go in, doing the scanning. And every time I'd walk into a bar, I would leave within 10 minutes with a girl. And then go and bang the hell out of her and go back to the bar and leave with another one. It was just like, what's going on here? So I've had my share of fucking.
Yeah.
And it got boring after a while. And I have,
people ask me why I don't fuck on camera as much as I used to. You know what I tell them? I'm like, it's not, one, it's not as easy as it looks, and two, I don't know that I ever wanted to do it forever, but I don't feel like I need to do it anymore, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, it would be fun once in a while, but I'd want to be picky and choosy because it's people that I like then.
I found that just the challenge of making the connection. Sex doesn't have to be the end all.
No.
I have run into some people that are acquaintances of mine, and they're always on their game. Their goal is to go out, find a girl, bang her, score, and then never talk to her again because she's out of the game. And that next night, it's like they're racking up the points, and they're in their own game.
Right.
I don't know who they're competing with, and I'm like, go to Germany.
Yeah.
There's no competition. You can get laid all day long, every day, 3 times a day. And I was trying to explain this to this one guy who, just always trying to get laid. That, I've had my share. It's not my goal anymore. You know,
Right.
sex is fun. I like sex. I always want to have sex, but it's not the end all be all. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of other stuff. And he's like, nah, you're full of shit. he couldn't accept that, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't.
So,
It's funny if I had as much sex and with as many women as people think I have, the number would be over 1,000.
you know,
easily
I
by
get
now.
that too. I at least once a week, I hear somebody say something like, you get so many women. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, I've had like 3 in the last 5 years, I think. You know?
Yeah. You know, and people say it to me all
They
the time,
see
too.
me with cute girls, and they assume that I'm banging them, but they're just friends.
Right. And people assume, for a long time, people assumed every girl I put my hands on it, buddy, did you go? I'd obviously taken home and had sex with.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Nope.
yeah, no, not really. You know, it never
Wouldn't
was.
say no to that, but
Yeah, it never really was a goal either. Like, you know, like you were talking about, like, okay, you know. It's very funny. Just contrary to sort of like the lifestyle people think I lead, I actually really much prefer to have sex with people I'm really connected to. People I plan on seeing again. It's not that I don't occasionally have sex with someone randomly or something like that. It's just every time I do, I find myself going, wow, I think I want to see them again.
you know, when I got into this,
Like what else can I get?
I tried not to do that. I tried, like when my wife and I got married and decided we wanted to have, you know, open relationship, poly. Her idea was that, in her concept of being poly was that she and I, as a couple, would find another couple and we would play with that couple, and that's poly. To me, my idea of poly was going and meeting a girl and not having any kind of emotional connection with her and just playing. Both having this mutual understanding that when we're done playing, that we were just playing, that we are not in love, we're not boyfriend and girlfriend, it was just sex. And that never really happened, you know. It was every time I would meet someone, I ended up like wanting to have that connection.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, for me,
It works better.
Yeah, for me, it's about the connection in the. I don't know. I kind of live life like it. You know, I can't say it's all in or not at all because that's bullshit. I don't live that way. Like in every piece of my life, but when I get connected to someone, I kind of just want to see where it goes.
Yeah.
Without like endangering things in a bad way, but like
Let's not call it something. Let's just, yeah.
let's just do it. You know, and people look at me and they're like, yeah, but, you know, if they break up with you or it doesn't work out, and I'm like, yeah, it'll hurt, but it doesn't matter because I wouldn't know where it was going to, like, I would hate to, like, regret not having gone there.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know, and it's led me down a fascinating, wonderful life of a road, deeply connected to people that in some cases the connection I had with them is gone. The connection, you know, ultimately went sour in some cases. I still speak to a few of them. You know, I say this like there's tons. There's not. It's just, but there's one woman who I still speak to on a regular basis who I miss terribly. She's wonderful, but the reason we're no longer seeing or dating each other is because she wanted. And justifiably so, because that's what she wanted, someone to take home to her family that they would understand. And you really can't take a guy home that's 12 years older than you, that has 2 kids and a wife, and explain I'm in love with them if you're bringing them to a traditional family, right?
Yeah.
And she is not in a place emotionally or you know, psychologically to walk me in the door or walk them into my house and say, this is who I love. And I get that. And once she realized she was using me as an excuse to not find that relationship, she wanted to break up with me, and I completely agreed with that. All I said to her I said, I would like to stay friends with you or something, in contact, talk, I don't know, anything, occasionally get back together. And I'd say for about a year or so, we went by. We barely talked, and then she called once, and I talked to her. We ended up sleeping together again, and then I don't know how often, every so often we'd get back together, and we'd take this one night out of the year or whatever it was, or 6 months or whatever, and sort of just get together, go on a nice date, and for lack of a better word, pretend it was still the same, like we never broke up.
I think that's healthy.
And then and really enjoy ourselves, really remember why we cared about each other.
Yes.
And then wake up the next morning, and I knew and she knew that meant we were gonna just talk and hang out and go back to being friends. I don't know if that's healthy by some whatever standards or whose other people's standards, but I think that it made our relationship really, really strong and really powerful, because it also reminded me and her of what there can be in life.
Yes.
And it's wonderful. We ended up ultimately, she ended up dating a guy for a while, and I called her up one night for our sort of, our traditional fantasy date, as it were,
Yeah.
whatever the word were.
Annual.
And and I was having a bad time actually in my personal life. So I called her and needed a friend and told her about it, and then asked her about our little fantasy date. And I said, wow, I could, that would be really awesome right now. I could use a good old-fashioned escape, essentially. And she said, you're right, that would be cool, but I can't. And she was able to draw this really beautiful line for herself because of the relationship she was in. And she said, and even if I wasn't in that relationship, I don't think that would be your healthiest form of escape right now, Stefanos.
That's cool.
And she looked at me and she said, you need to face that shit. And I don't think you need to crawl into a hole even for 8 hours. And so that's the other reason why I love her very much, is because she was able to sort of grab me by the collar and go, hey, turn around, stud, here it comes, face the train, you made it.
Yeah.
You jumped off it, now you're laying on the tracks, do something about it. You made your bed, lay in it. And and it was awesome, because that's the kind of family and friends I love. And I had to kind of go backwards to the crap I made and fix it, as opposed to trying to escape.
Yeah. Stick
And,
the mirror in your face.
I was like, oh, nice.
Yeah.
I respect her all the more for it. So I think that's where love really is in some cases. So, and how I got into that one, I don't know, but there you go.
I don't either. I was gonna say, if your girlfriend or your partner asks you, like, I'd say within the first couple of months of your relationship, how am I getting my hair messed up or something? What are you doing? Okay.
Hey, I had something.
If she asks you how many people you've had sex with, 7 is the best number. No matter how many it's been, just say 7.
7.
Maybe more. You can say 7, maybe more, but I can't remember right now because I was drunk a few times. But 7 is the good answer, because more than 7, you're kind of in the hoary slut, and less than 7, and you're just kind of like not experienced enough. And
Yep.
It's a good number.
I think it was in 2010. No, really early 2010, 2009 for sure. I used to boast to people that I could count the number of people I had sex with in a traditional sort of, penis and vagina sex or something like that, or penis and ass. Yeah. Anyway, if one is, not that I would ever do that. Anyway, he says, but I could count them on less than 2 hands. I mean, on 2 hands, more like it was like 5 or 7 people, I can't remember at that time, and people would be shocked, right, because of the stories I told you. Like, but Stefanos, I'm like, I know. At the time I had you counted oral sex, of course, as sex, like they do in some countries. That would have been a different answer.
Yeah.
Right? But the reason I stopped at 2010 is because once I started working in the adult film industry, obviously that number changed.
Yeah.
But I at the time, 2009? That was 5 years ago, so I would have been 37-ish, 36. And for some people were like, really? Wow, you're in your mid-30s and you've only had sex with like 7 people? And I'm like, yep. And I'm okay with that. And I don't know. It never really.
When I came back from my sowing my wild oats in Germany, and I met the girl that I married, and we had a child together. She asked me that question, and I had never thought about it before. I said, "Let me get back to you on that. I have to think about it." And then, just like thinking about it casually through the course of the day, and the weeks go by, and I'm like, every time I would remember some girl I banged, it would remind me of about 10 more, but I completely erased that out of my mind. And Germany, there were like 3 a day at times.
Wow.
It was just stupid.
I'm trying to imagine.
This is all pre-AIDS, of course.
Yeah, I'm trying to imagine that in my brain going, can I do that? Yeah, I probably could. But I don't know how.
Before Germany, it wasn't a very low number either, but I just never really thought about it. I never thought of myself as a very sexual kind of guy, but because I was always somewhere, always moving, or
right.
couldn't remember half the places I'd been, and then just thinking about it, I stopped. I quit thinking about it after I got to the 1,000.
Wow.
So, and I told that to the douchebag, not the douchebag, but the guy who was boasting about how many women. I said, I stopped counting at 1,000. Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah, whatever.
Believe it or not, I don't care. But all I can say is go to Germany. Go to Germany. Spent 3 months there. Unbelievable. They just love to fuck in Germany.
Wow. I'm okay with that.
I am too.
If I need to, I know where I need to go now. So if I need to get that out of my system.
But I was young. I was in my 20s, so. And I was a model when I was there too, so that probably played a big role in it.
That might have helped.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good-looking guys and all. That'll do it for you.
Yeah, and I worked in clubs too, so. Yeah, but. Oh, and for some reason, I ended up knowing everybody in the porn industry. Even though I wasn't in it, everybody. The clubs that I went to were the places where all the porn people would go and party.
Right. That makes sense.
So.
Well, the people that work in the porn industry do have a tendency to love to party, some of them, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, and they hang out together.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the trick. In the industry, there are some people who, when you date, they ask you, a civilian?
Yes.
And so they want to know if you're dating another porn person or not.
If you're dating porn people, you're probably safe. If you're dating civilians, you need to get tested.
or alternatively, a lot of the women especially fall. Some of the women fall in and out of porn because they're single. Then they're with the guy who is like, oh my god, I'm dating a porn star. This is awesome. Then he becomes insecure. Then she stops doing porn
for him.
And then they break up, and then she goes back into porn.
Yeah.
And so that's part of why
or she has his baby, and then goes back into porn.
Yeah, that's right. That's happened too. You're right. Think about it. Yeah. Yep. So, but yeah, it's one of those things. I'm like, oh, you can't do that. Whereas like people are like, well, how does your wife deal with it? And I'm like, she's the one who gave me the fucking idea. Actually, she was the one that was like, you should totally go try to do porn. So I did. It didn't work out so well the first time. Oh boy. Yeah, no, not really. That was sort of an ego killer, let me tell you, the first time.
Yeah, I tried making home porn once. Found a really cute girl who was ready to go and lined up a bunch of guys, and none of them could get their dick hard.
Yep, that's not an uncommon problem.
That I learned really fast was like the biggest problem with shooting porn.
Well, yeah, that's a thing.
For amateur stuff anyway.
Yeah,
I don't know what else.
Well, no, but it's a thing.
It made sense.
That's
it made sense why you always see the same guys in porns for years, because that's that small group of guys who can just get their dick hard on command and come on command. And
I have no idea how they do it either. Sometimes I'm like, wow, I'm pretty good at it, but not that good. I was never that good at it.
Yeah.
I was,
I used to be really good at it until I got my dick pierced. Then it became too sensitive. Now I don't have that control anymore.
Oh, wow. These guys, I'm always impressed. You look over and you're like, how How did you do that?
Yeah.
Like, how is
Okay, we got 30 seconds. Ready, go.
go and
there
kick
it
start,
is.
and then all of a sudden they're done. Yeah. But I'm like, you go, man.
When's the next upper floor?
Oh, there's one on the 18th. I will sadly be out of town for it, but there is one on the 18th. It's on Sunday. It's a brunch.
Are they mostly brunches now?
Nope. There's only one brunch a month, and
Okay.
then the rest are Saturday night parties usually.
Every Saturday?
Not
Or-
every Saturday. That comes and goes.
So you don't have a set schedule. You just
No,
go
it depends on. Some of it
When
depends
you're
on
out
when I
of
travel.
town, yeah.
There's one on the 31st that we're doing. I'll for sure be there for that.
May 31st.
May 31st.
That's my birthday.
Well, you'll have to come up and see there.
Put me on the list.
You're on. That's a matter.
I'll
of
bring Victoria. I'll make sure she's here for that.
That'd be perfect.
Yeah. That would be great.
You know, I'll give her a glass of champagne to make her smile. I don't know if that'll make her smile, but I'll give her a glass of champagne either way. So
Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for coming and being here.
it's good to see you again. But
It's good to talk. I mean, you're working so much. It's hard to get a word in, you know.
yeah, I know.
Last time I had a conversation with you, I tried to record it, completely lost it.
Oh, really? We didn't get that?
It just
Oh.
vanished. It was good. It was very spontaneous, but it was brief.
Yeah.
But this one is, I know we're going to be good here on this one.
Okay, cool.
I know how to use the recording device now.
Yeah, it happens.
All right.
It's good to see
All
you.
right. Say hi to Shai for me.
I certainly will. All right, well, we'll talk to you later.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll talk to you soon.